Hello everyone and welcome back to our Chia experiment on our Bitnos channel. A little bit of light-hearted philosophical reflection on Chia coin and Chia coin mining today. After 2 days of discussions on Reddit, I think I have come to a point where I want to transfer some of it onto the YouTube channel so that just people who regularly do not follow the Reddits have a little bit of an insight of what is going on and what are the main things happening in the background. So first of all, we have to sidetrack a little bit. Unfortunately, some people called me an idiot, and according to my ex-wives and my children, they are not alone with that. Uh, they tend to call me that quite often. Yes, I do believe in the good of mankind and the power of love, and I think that love is stronger than hate, and of course, all that rubbish. And I truly believe that I deserve an elevated place in the history of mankind. Yes, and that is probably why they are right in calling me an idiot. But I'm not an idiot when I talk about economic assets, and obviously hard disks are costs and not an investment. You invest in economic goods, and we have different asset classes, and our hard disks are basically costs because they are low valued assets, and low value assets are depreciated the moment you take them out of the package. So basically, every hard disk you put into your system is written down to zero the moment you take it out of the package. And that's why hard disks are costs and not an asset. They are representing a value of zero at the moment you take them out of the package. And you can Google that, and that is what you will find on the definition of low value assets. So our calculation with adding hard disks as a cost, of course, is a valid point, and that's not idiocy. So all our calculations are basically spot on, and nothing I need to change in that. And going from there, the other argument is what comes up against my calculations is that the equilibrium is long to go, and equilibrium means that the price for the hard disks you need to add is exactly the amount of money you can expect them to make over their lifetime. So if the net space grows and you need to add another hard disk for the price of $300, then this would be just represent an income, an additional income of $300 over the lifetime of your hard disk. So basically, you would invest, and your gain would be practically zero, because no, it would be negative, because you would have to pay for the privilege of taking part in the experiment. And people argue that this equilibrium is very far away. And I would say that is very questionable. We have to think about how we calculate this equilibrium. How do we actually calculate the price of the hard disk we add? And everyone agrees that we should calculate the Chia by its market value. So what is the market value of the hard disk? That is the question. So I have undertaken some serious research, and that comes up with the following, which is an offer from a company which rents out server and server space. And here you can see, if we want to rent a server, so we can assume that they have calculated every tasks they need to do to run this, and it's reflected in the price they want you to pay for it. So this is 277 euros per month for a server in Amsterdam, which has 8 core, 48 gigabit of RAM, and 2 SSDs, a terabyte each. And you can see you can also rent on a monthly basis, which is not much cheaper than the one on a daily basis. Then we would need another £40 a month for the services you need to run the show, and we would need another 14,000 euro per month for the storage if we want 1 petabyte for the plots and 500 gigabytes for the operating system and whatever we want to store on it. So in total we come up with 14,000 and roughly 350 euros. 14,350 euros would be the market value for the goods and services you need to run a 1 petabyte server in a data center. So where that means all the goods and services are reflected in their market value. Now we take a look at the Chia calculator, and we calculate our income on exactly the same settings, and that gives us a monthly income in dollars of $9.8K, which is far less than 14,300 euros. And you see that if we take the Chia coin as a market price, a market value, my point I'm making is we need to take all the goods and services which go into the production of the Chia at a market price as well. So that means the meal your flatmate is cooking to keep you going on your machine has to go into the calculation as it would be if you would be employed in a data center and they run a kitchen. So the overhead has to be priced in. And that is why I think, in my opinion, the equilibrium has already been reached, where we have, because of the overhead, because of what actually needs to be done to run a server with a petabyte or more of storage, that the growth in network space is already eating into the revenue. And here we come to the next point in our reflection, and that is a point which is about capitalism and ethics. And there is something which is very often reflected in the literature, is the question of how exploitative is capitalism. And as we all know, since if we are active in the world of projects and basically grassroots movements, there's another thing which is called self-exploitation. So what is self-exploitation? So basically, self-exploitation is when you work for free under the assumption that you're doing a good deed. And there is a very good point which is made in the literature about the nature of self-exploitation. The achievement subject stands free from external instances of domination, forcing it to work and exploiting it. It is subject to no one if not to itself. However, the absence of external domination does not abolish the structure of compulsion. Greed, it makes freedom and compulsion coincide. The achievement subject gives itself over to the freestanding compulsion in order to maximize performance. In this way, it exploits itself. Auto-exploitation is more efficient than allow-exploitation, others exploiting you, because a deceptive feeling of freedom accompanies it. The exploiter is simultaneously the exploited. Exploitation now occurs without domination. That is what makes self-exploitation so efficient. And all those of you who think we don't need the grassroots people, we can just rely on the huge data centers to do the job for Chia, have a look at the offers from the data center, how much they will charge, and then have a look at what self-exploitation is and who made possible the point where you are. And then ask yourself if you can really abandon those people who worked their asses off to the point where you are now. I mean, that is a discussion which has to be made. And another point is the price for the coin. I will just show you a graph, and let's have a look at this graph in a 3-year context. So that is the share price of GameStop. So what we see here is a point where GameStop transitions from a stock, from an ordinary stock, into something different. GameStop stopped to be a stock and now is a vault. It has given up its original purpose to be a stock, which is measured in returns and return of investment, in the height of its dividend, in the prospect of its survival chances, to something completely different. It is now valued as a vault, as a means to hold value, and a value in itself, irregarding its prospect. So you could just sell off the company at the moment and only list the stocks without any activity, and in my opinion it would probably even benefit the share price. So something has happened here, which means we have a transition from one purpose to another. And that is something which obviously is a question when we look at the Chia coin price. So if you want the Chia to be a vault, to be something which stores value, then of course you want the Chia to be at $50,000 a piece. But if you want to have a transactional value, that means if you want the Chia to be used as a means of facilitating transactions, then your goal would be exactly the opposite, especially in the light of the 21 million pre-mined coins. So there has to be some kind of decision, there has to be some kind of plan, which path we want to pursue. So are we going down the road of setting Chia up as a speculative means of, let's say, hoarding wealth, or do we want the Chia to be an everyday means of transaction which facilitates selling and buying goods and services? That is a question we have to answer. And we need this plan B, or this whatever decision-making process to be on the table, openly discussed, and there will be blood and there will be tears whatever way you go, but it needs to be an open discussion. So that is basically, there are a million points more. I had done the preparations for a lot more, but I think that is enough for today. I hope it is interesting, and it gives some thought, and I hope I do not hope to make many views with that one. What I hope is that it actually brings out some discussion. And yeah, I'm an idiot. I know that I believe in the good of mankind, but I hope this will lead into something which gives us some direction and gives us a bit of yeah, what can I say? A bit of a perspective. And yeah, I hope that with the oncoming of the pooling, with a new start in the printing process, there will also be the plotting process. There will also be a direction in visible in where this whole thing is going to go, in which direction we are walking. And whatever the outcome of this discussion is, it needs, in my opinion, it needs to be undertaken. We need a bit more, we need to come out of the trenches, we need to find some common ground between the fundamental issues which are at the moment a burden to the project. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you like and subscribe. And yeah, probably in a year's time, things will have come to a conclusion. Thank you very much, and have a brilliant Sunday, everybody.